This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex, babe. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to throw down in the bedroom anytime, day or night? It was all right. You was ready. Yeah, that stuff changes when you get older, doesn't it? But that's okay. That's how it's supposed to go, except you can get it back. That's right. You can increase your performance. You can get that confidence back. You can return to your younger wiener days. Listen up. BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead, or you can just be ready whenever an opportunity comes up. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done down there on the internet there, which means no more visits to the doctor's office, no awkward wiener conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy bumping into your high school football coach. None of that. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the U.S. of A., prepared and shipped direct to your door in a very discreet package. Listen, these things, you hear about them sometimes and you're like, well, I mean, I don't, do I need that? Does it work? Whatever. It does work. You do need it. Take it from me. It hits. You might think, wow, what's all the hubbub about? Try it. You see the hub and the bub. You won't have no problem understanding what it's about. It's the stuff hits. I don't know what else to say. Blue Chew is good. It's like Corsair. It's like you get a, getting a whole new wiener. That's what it's like. You're like, where has this guy been hiding? This guy coming out to play all of a sudden from coming out of retirement. God damn, I didn't even know he ever took the field. Who is this? It be like that. It's and the confidence you get from using it, knowing that you're bringing out the ringer, as it were, makes a massive difference. The stuff is fire. I don't know how else to put it. But now Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. We got a special deal for our listeners. You can try Blue Chew for free. That's right, free when you use our promo code POA at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Promo code POA to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Blue Chew, get you a new dick. What's up, airheads? How you doing? Welcome back to a stirring rendition of Putting on Air. Stirring and also varied this week. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Quite different, rather. Very different, in fact. Edition of Putting on Airs. I'm coming to you from the virtual Airstream studios, but the more astute of you may have ascertained already that I am alone, at least for the nonce. No Cho. We are sans Cho this week. I know that's difficult to accept, but we're all just going to have to do. We're going to have to come together as one, accept this as reality, and move on as a unit. Okay, that's what we're going to have to do. He's not coming. Okay, now he'll be back in the future, but not this week. You're going to have to live without him this week. It's not the very first time that's happened. I think I've missed one episode ever, and I think Cho has missed one and now two episodes ever. He's out this week because he's at the most magical place on earth, Disney World. Down there at Disney World, Orlando, Florida, having a horrific heat-soaked time, not enjoying himself at all, if his texts are to be believed. I'm sure I'm putting him on blast right now. When he gets back next week, he'll be fronting like I ain't telling the truth, like I ain't saying what he done said to me. But look, he's down there with a baby. Now, here's the deal. Like, he did not make the decision to go down there. But what's he going to do? Just tell his wife and baby to go without him? I'm sure he would have loved to, but you can't do that. Any married man among us knows you can't pull that off. So he had to go. It wasn't his idea, but he's been getting some shit in the group text from like Smart Mark of Weekly Skews fame. Some people are vehemently opposed to bringing a baby to a place like Disney World because, and frankly, I'm a parent, longtime parent. I always held this philosophy myself, is that, babies' brains ain't the best. They're still in baby mush mode. They're not making memories. We all know that. Disney World is expensive and elaborate as hell. And his little baby ain't going to remember one solitary second of it. Now, so it's like, why even bring the baby? Well, you can't just leave them in a closet. You can't put them in a kennel, for God's sake. There's more of a family trip. I believe his wife's siblings and their kids, but more people than just Corey and his wife and baby went down there, and he felt obligated to come along in tow. Now, it's also, Nate Bargatze has a great stand-up bit about that idea, and it's like, just what am I supposed to do? Just shove my kid in the closet until they start making memories. It's like until they are, developed enough to make memories. I just hide them in the basement because why do anything with them? It's fucking ridiculous. And I do get that, but I get both sides of the argument. I told them, apparently, according to my wife, the Disney adult, it would seem that her philosophy is that children of all ages should ideally be left out of any planned Disney World trip, considering she goes on an annual basis, and my children have never seen it. But putting Katie on blast here too. She listens to this show, at least she professes to. So we're about to find out. That's my little test. I'll find out if she still listens to these episodes or not, because I ain't gonna say nothing to her about what I just did. I'm just going to wait and see if she says something to me about it. She knows she can't deny it. She knows she's a Disney adult, a Magic Kingdom weirdo, as it were. People feel some type of way about Disney adults. And I always tell them, whenever it comes up like, yeah, my wife's a Disney adult, I immediately follow it up with, but we have kids, just so you know, we have like younger children. And they're always like, oh, okay, well, that's not as weird. And under my breath, I'm like, yeah, she doesn't include them in any of the Disney stuff. But we do have your children. Anyway, we got a treat for you this week. In spite of Cho's absence, did my very best to find a replacement of admirable quality, and I think I superseded that requirement. I really do. I think I went above and beyond. Today, we got a little interview between me and our very special guest, Mr. Sam Tallent. Sam Tallent is, I'm not just saying this, one of the funniest, smartest, most well-spoken, erudite ass, awesome fucking dudes on planet Earth. And I feel like everybody who knows Sam universally holds that opinion of him. He is a stand-up comedian. I've known him for going on 10 years now. We met doing comedy festivals a long time ago, hit it off immediately. He's an absolute killer. If you want to check out Sam's stand-up, and you should, he has a special on YouTube called The Toad's Morale. He's a brilliant comic. And also, just so you know, you watch the special, you should also go see him live, because I know from having seen him many times, never the same show twice. Live, the special will be very, very different from the live in-person version of his show. He's one of these guys, he goes with the flow of the moment. He's present in the room, and he's just riffing and doing shit, and he's crushing the whole time. And frankly, he's a bit of a force of nature as a stand-up comedian. So you should check out the special, and also go to samtallent.com. He also has a podcast called Chubby Behemoth, which is wonderful. And then, most incredibly, when incredibly is a poor choice of words, because that would imply that I can scarcely believe it, and that is very much not the case. Most awe-inspiring of all, and Sam would hate me using that descriptor. He is a renowned author. That's right. A celebrated, critically revered author of fiction. His debut novel, Running the Light, came out a couple years ago, self-published, but found great acclaim, especially in the comedy community. It's been optioned for a major motion picture. A major publishing house is going to be reprinting it. Sam drops that news in this very interview. If you like, it's about the epitome of a 80s beat all the shit road warrior comedian. That's what it's about. Like, from the 80s, it's set in present day. And if you love stand-up, yeah, I know you'll love it. But even if you don't, if you just love great books, it's very literary, very flowery. He did not slouch on the verbosity, right? But it's not pretentious either. It all plays. It's very beautifully written. If you just like good fiction, you need to check out Running the Light. And also, if you're an audiobook person, Sam did what I think, and I'm a little biased, as you'll see in a minute, what I think was a very cool thing. The audiobook for Running the Light is read, every chapter is read by a different comedian. And we're talking like Bill Burr, Mark Maron, all kinds of people. But also, your boy was honored to read one of the chapters of Running the Light. In fact, the chapter that I read for the audiobook was one of my favorite chapters from the book. So that was very cool as well. So if you're an audiobook person, check that out. But either way, just check out Sam. He deserves it. Universally beloved guy, and for good reason. He's awesome. Just so you know, I'm recording what you're saying right now the next day, and I'm also going to record the outro later. So in the in-between, I'm going to grow some facial hair. My facial hair is going to get a little longer. My hair might look a little different. I'm wearing a different shirt. Fret not. Everything's fine. I'm not time traveling. I mean, I guess I sort of am. But anyway, I got Sam on the line yesterday, Tuesday. We did the episode. Now it's Wednesday. I'm doing the other things. So don't be confused. It'll be fine. Enjoy this interview with the incomparable, the inimitable Sam Tallent. What's up, airheads? How you doing? Welcome back to Putting On Airs. It's a very special edition this week. We are sans the Cho. Cho is in the Magic Kingdom of Disney World, having a miserable time, I imagine, but doing family stuff. But you're in for a treat because I'm joined by one of my favorite people, one of the funniest dudes I've ever met, and an even lovelier man, Mr. Sam Tallent. How you doing, Sammy?
Brother, I am so glad to talk to you. Anytime we're together, I'm just filled with glee, Brian. How are you?
Yeah, I know. No, right back at you. All too infrequent, but always a pleasure
Well,
whenever
yeah, because
whenever
we're
it
out
does
there
happen.
making a damn dime, brother.
Trying to, yeah. This
Yeah,
guy's a globe-trotting son of a bitch. Puts me to shame.
I'm
But
following the money, man. That's
yeah.
all.
So I know that you're not of the fanciest origins, right? You
Right?
you, you come from it because I remember that's one thing that I guess we sort of bonded over relatively early on was I started hearing you talk about like where you're from in Colorado. And I remember one time on Facebook, you posted these pictures of like people you went to high school with who got
Yeah.
married and they had Confederate flags everywhere and all this shit. And it's like, oh,
Oh
he's
yeah.
from that type of Colorado. Is that right? What's it called?
I'm from Elbert County. I'm from a
Yeah.
place so small that you have to refer to it by
So
the county.
I've got this. You probably had the same theory. I've had a working theory for a long time that if a place is primarily referred to not by the name of any city or town, but instead as blank county, then
Yeah.
that place is red as hell. Generally speaking,
Oh yeah. No, there's
yeah,
not a big pride parade in Elbert County,
right.
Colorado.
But it's even
Yeah.
like Orange County, right, which is moneyed and white and shit. Orange County in Los Angeles, that's still like the red part of LA, and it just seems like anytime it's blank county, there's I think there's something to it.
Yeah, no, I never thought of that. Yeah, you're totally right. It's not just like poor places that are referred to by the county.
Now,
It's also places where they
because
just don't want black people in them.
well, I don't know if you know this, but our mutual buddy Travis Irvine, who's a big Ohio guy, he
Yeah.
told me, you ever do the Liberty Funny Bone? It's the Cincinnati Funny Bone, but it's in Liberty Township
No,
there. And
I'm a company
okay,
man for Go Bananas, man.
right on, fair enough. Well, it's in most of the funny bones are in like suburbs and shopping centers and shit. So the
Yeah.
Cincinnati Funny Bone is in a place called Liberty Township. But when I was with Irvine, who's a Ohioan to the
Oh yeah.
core, he was like, "Oh yeah, no, we're in blank county tonight." And I was like, "What?" And apparently that part of Cincinnati, they call that, I can't remember the name, but it's like something county, and that's what they call it. And he was like, "Yeah, this is the red part of this area." So it's like it's a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, look, the only county that ever really comes to mind when I think of famous counties is like Boone County
Yeah.
because of the Wonderful Whites
Right.
movie. And I feel like they were pretty open-minded as far as like who they
Sure.
were laying with, you know? I bet
Yes.
there was a lot of race mixing going on
That is
in old
true, but
Boone
I
County.
bet on an electoral map that part of that region is probably pretty
Fair.
ruby red. I think
Yeah.
you. It's another reason I love you. Like that reference point you just made, the
Yeah.
wild and wonderful whites or whatever. Like that. I make that reference a lot, and I find that a lot of people don't. It's not as well known as I think it is or thought it was. It's like got a cult thing, but because I always bring it up as like a reference point for like where and how I grew up,
Sure,
like
yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
always expect that to just clear it up for people.
Yeah, Boone County mating call, and he
But
shakes the
yeah, you
jar
shake the
of pills.
pills. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Uh, but
No, I
yeah.
think you're
So, but
right,
yeah, you're
man.
from.
I'm from Elbert County, Colorado. I'm from a town called Elizabeth, which is on the eastern plains of Colorado. And when everyone thinks of Colorado, they think of like, the mountains, or they think of Boulder, or they think of maybe even southern Colorado with its canyons and hot springs. But no, I'm from like the Kansas part of Colorado. And Tom Tancredo was like our guy. We gave the world Tom Tancredo, who was the first guy who wanted to build the wall in like 2008.
What?
Yeah. So Tancredo was this Republican senator or representative from Eastern Colorado, and he had like a very fringe run for presidency in 2008 before they figured it out. And I got invited because I went to Metro State University of Denver, and I was a rhetoric major. So I got invited to go see him make a speech in my hometown. And Jesus Christ, dude, some of the imagery that was being invoked and some of the quotes that were used to build favor with the constituency
Yeah.
were very, Berlin 1933. It was
Yeah.
spooky, bro.
And what year was that? Did
That
you
was
say?
'08.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that was like a harbinger of things to come back then
Right,
on a
and, like,
larger
and
scale.
dude, a lot of that, verbiage that was adopted by, far right-leaning candidates, I think that he was, like, the test pilot to see how that would hit with people, and man, people would have walked into traffic for him after that speech. I mean, he's a hell of an orator, I'll say that.
Yeah, they good at getting people fired up, you know. I
Say
mean,
what you will about Hitler, but he
that's
could
what I was
work
about
a
to say. That
crowd.
Hitler
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah. I always want it's like you see him like I don't ever understand the words he's saying when I see Hitler, but he's
'Cause it's
always
in
really giving
German.
it his all, you know.
Yeah,
Like he's
yeah.
really getting into it. And they say it's because he was just methed up a lot, but like
Sure.
he was like methed up, but also knew big words and stuff like that. So he just, get up
Well,
there
yeah,
and
I mean, so
really
is
go
Hank
in.
3, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
And
Yeah,
that's a hell
still
of a
a little
shot.
different, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I just
Yeah,
saw
I
this.
remember when we met, we were in Orlando, I think, and we were just, like,
Yes.
chain smoking behind that bar, and I was
Yep.
like, "Damn, dude, this guy and I are 2 peas in a pod, bro."
Yeah, it's another theory that I had germinate recently. It's more of a personal theory. It just really kind of just applies to me, but I wonder how it'll strike you. Something made me notice or realize, like, you ever hear that thing that you hear sometimes that like there's a few different types of friends you make along the course of your life, where there's like the ones you grew up with, right? And obviously they're in their own category. A lot of times, sometimes those guys might be friends you're kind of just friends with because you grew up with, you know what I mean? You may not even have that much in common with them or whatever, but you grew up
Yeah, I mean, I
together. It's
love
like,
I love lending people money that I knew in
right.
2001, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like from Justified, the we dug coal together, like variety of
Yeah,
friendships, right?
yeah, for sure.
And everybody's got those. And then there's the ones you like make on your own. And then those also are broken down in a couple categories. There's like transient, like time for a period in time
Sure.
friendships, and they could be great friends, but it's a period in each other's lives. You move on, you kind of lose touch. And then
Mhm.
there's the ones that you make that like stick around, right? And I realized something recently I never thought of before. Most of the like good friends that I've met over the course of my life who I didn't grow up with, who I've like stayed good friends with, almost every single one of them is from like a small ish town or like a rural area or from somewhere like similar to where I'm from. And that's not even, we didn't meet because of that. Like I just started thinking, I was like, all these guys, not even in comedy, just in my life. I go down the list and they're all from like in the middle of fucking nowhere
Yeah,
almost. I mean, I have
yeah.
good buddies who are not also, but I don't know. It's just there's some kind of
Do you think that speaks to,
something.
like, this, like, kind of looming chip on our shoulder about city
Probably.
folk, you know?
Yes.
Like, it's probably because like, we can't trust them because they
Right.
drove, like, a current model vehicle when they were 16.
Yeah. What the fuck is that? Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
understand. Yeah.
something poisoned in our mind for sure.
Yeah, no, dude. Until I was like 24, I thought it
Yeah.
was weird when someone's parents were married. You know what I mean? was like, I was like, okay, Mr. High Horse over here with his
Yeah.
married parents.
Oh, wow, how was it growing up in that ivory castle of,
Yeah.
of marital bliss? Yeah, man, I think you're right, like, I am drawn towards people who come from similar backgrounds, probably because I know that, like, not only do we share a web of experience, but also I know that I have plenty of people in my life. Because like, when you go to LA or New York, you meet a lot of people who, like, they kind of tell you who they are right away, and that usually involves their, like, political leanings. And
Hmm.
it's like I have plenty of friends who are blood red,
Oh yeah.
who I would, who I share very little politically with, but I know they'll give you the shirt off their back. And if you
Right.
needed anything, they would be the first one there, to help you change a tire. So it's like I don't view people based on, their politics. It's just based on their actions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, same thing over here. But another thing that I dug about you immediately and makes you a good guest for the show, I think, is because I know you come from those backgrounds, that origin, but I also know that you're something of a cultured, worldly man. You're like a man, you're a bit of a sophisticate in many ways, but the exact opposite in many other ways, which is sort of the whole dynamic of this show. But like, do you like nice things? Do you know
Yeah,
about nice things?
for
Yeah. So,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm like you, dude. My dad was a teacher after he got sober, and my mom worked for the county.
right.
So it's not like I grew up in dirt, but like our
Yeah.
house was literally underground. Like the first floor was underground. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, dude, having hardwood floors, I mean, there's like
Right.
a lot of things that I didn't have that I really covet now because I have a little change jangling around in my pocket.
What about what about just I don't know, nice? Like, do you like it? So like I just came back, like literally just got back from a little family trip. I mean, I was doing shows, like I was in Oxnard, and then a couple days later, San Jose. So me and Katie and the boys just like went up the coast and just did
Because
a
you got to
little,
write it off,
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a free hotel room that way.
Yeah, this was a business trip that
Yeah, exactly.
my wife and kids were on, and we stayed by the beach and shit. But
and they're probably on the company payroll, I assume.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not this. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like I have an MBA, and I'm one of the business dumbest motherfuckers you'll ever meet in your life. But you know,
I disagree. I think you're shrewd, but you have to pretend like you're not, so you can still aw shucks your way into selling out theaters.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe you're on to me. Yes, it would be important to keep up the appearances over here.
Bro, I'll tell you this. We just bought a house in Michigan. Me and my wife are moving to East Detroit, and it's a nice house that we could only afford because it's in Detroit. But we just bought a $9,000 couch, man.
Oh my God.
My wife and I both had our, she's the daughter of a teacher and a union pipe fitter, and we just have this dust bowl fucking understanding of money,
right?
Where it's like, well, you can't eat the couch,
right?
What are we doing? So we each we ended up having this big conversation after I proposed getting the couch, and after she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's a deal, we're getting it for 60% off. And then we had this very sincere heart to heart about how it was almost impossible for us to imagine living in a home with a $9,000 couch, and how we thought we were turning our backs collectively on where we came from.
Okay.
We want a nice thing that's comfortable.
See, this is exactly what I was about to get into. This trip we took, one day we stopped in this small town, which is near the Hearst Castle, called Cambria. And it's very cute and picturesque. And it's on the water and all that, but it is kind of a small town, a postcardy type small town. But then the next night we stayed in a Carmel by the Sea.
Oh my God!
Do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know that place?
Hell yeah, I know that place.
Right. So yeah, and it's I should have known. There's no buck snort by the sea. You know what I mean? Anything that's by the sea is going to be some pretty fancy shit, right?
Yeah, there's no Boone County by the sea,
right?
Yeah.
So, but still, and it's me and my wife is you and yours. It sounds like she's also she's from Wayne County, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So it's you can imagine how red that is. Might as well be fucking Earl County, Wayne County, and that's where she's from. But anyway, she was
might as well be David Allen Coe County.
Yeah, she was talking about how we both as soon as we got to Carmel, we were like, oh, this place is too fancy for us. We had our sons with us. One of my 11-year-old's wearing a Dwayne The Rock Johnson t-shirt.
Yes,
and I've got on a Tennessee Vols hoodie and everything. And people are walking around with
the Jeff Jarrett listen up Slapnuts tee.
Yeah, right. And everybody's walking around with Birkin bags and shit, which my wife pointed out. I didn't even know, but it felt like you could just see a cop on the street corner standing there in his walkie-talkie, containment protocol has been breached. Containment protocol. We just felt weird, kind of. Even though it's a lovely, beautiful little white people ass place, we were I don't think they shouldn't have allowed us to come here. That's how we felt. So
that's me. Any place that there's a tablecloth and a candle on the table.
Yeah.
Dude,
the first time I ever saw one of those I remember it vividly. First time I saw one of those little crumb scraper.
Me too. Right.
Dude, so
I know where I was, dude. My mom took me to New Orleans when I was 13.
Yeah.
And we were at fucking Antoine's, bro, and the guy scraped the crumbs, and I was like, there's a world out there that I'll never know.
Exactly.
I won't be able to taste every delicacy in life's buffet because my mind was blown by a fucking crumb scrape.
I tweeted a picture of it, and it was every jumped up piece of trash, however I put it, at some point in their life will have their mind blown by the existence of this utensil, and it was a picture of a crumb scraper.
Trae, that makes me know you even deeper, bro. That is a seminal, clear memory in my head.
Yeah. You just know. So it's summertime, y'all. You making big summer plans. I literally just got back from a summertime trip with my family, my wife and kids to five different California cities in 5 days. I was working, doing shows, but also we were just trying to enjoy the beach and stuff. And I'll tell you what, planning a trip, especially one as logistically complex as that, can cause more stress and relaxation. I think we've all been there. We all know this week Cho's at Disney World with his family, and he knows all about that. You go down there for a nice, relaxing fun in the sun. You end up pulling all your hair out unless you're bald like him. Either way, it can stress you out. But, you don't have to worry about it. When you get a nice THC high using Moods, sleepy, chill, and or relieved products. That's right. They can help you unwind. Mood is good for that. You need to chill out. Get you some Mood. Mood's potent product lineup is the perfect companion for whatever you got planned this summer. Their hemp-based THCA flower is the future of legal THC. Try it along with all of Mood's other amazing offerings like flower, gummies, vapes, and more. For a limited time, Mood is giving our listeners a free THCA pre-roll and 20% off your first order. Just visit hellomood.com and use the code POA. I say this every time because it's true. I in my 20s and at college age, I got real into weed. That's back when it was still firmly illegal, and all you could get was like that, dirty, shaky kind in a bag from some dude in an IROC Z. In fact, I'm not kidding. The first weed I ever smoked was out of a trash bag that one of our little shadier buddies found in the middle of a field somewhere. So that was my experience, and it was a lot of fun. Smoke that, listen to Guns N' Roses, go insane in a good way. Then as I got older, that changed. The experience changed. Weed started turning on me, frankly. I started going insane in a bad way, communing with the void every time, filled with anxiety, racked with paranoia, right? That's how it was becoming. I'd almost stopped until Mood came along. And I'm not just saying that. It's true. Mood, at first, I was a little hesitant because of my experience with weed, but this stuff is incredible because it doesn't do that to me. I didn't know that was possible, but apparently it is. I use Moods. They got these little blue gummies. They're like sleepy time gummies. Best sleep you ever get in your life. It's incredible. Take them at nighttime. You just chill out. No, only chilling out. No freaking out with Mood. And they said it couldn't be done, and I believed them, but they were wrong. With Mood, it can be. It's actually genuinely relaxing, and it's some real good stuff. All right. Moods, their latest and most potent breakthrough in the world of legal cannabis is they got THCA flower. THCA converts to regular THC when you heat it. So it's like the classic marijuana high. They've got over 10 high-inducing strains, the most potent they've ever offered. They put an end to the guessing games at Mood because they have federally legal forms of THC. It's extracted from hemp plants. All right. They test all their products in third-party labs. They're sourced entirely from small family farms. No pesticides are used. They're all test and tailored by in-house experts. They have different strains for different moods. Like we said already, they got plenty of versatile products to go with whatever mood you're going for, whatever your personal consumption preferences may be. The Mood is great for beginner and veteran users. They got gummies, flower, pre-rolls, anything you can imagine. So add more relaxation to your summer plans with Mood. For a limited time only, get 20% off your first order and a free THCA pre-roll. Just go to hellomood.com and use the promo code POA. That's 20% off your first order and a free THCA pre-roll when you go to hellomood.com and put in the promo code POA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to announce that Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use the code POA20. That's POA20 to get 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Summertime and the trimming is easy. Do you have other experiences like that you could think of, or do you because again, you do, that's the thing. I know you, I've been around you. I get what we're saying, but I also know that you eloquent as fuck and stuff. Like I feel like you could talk and you can hang, you choose not to, but can you float into this sort of other world a little bit if you want to?
I read a lot of books, and like I said, right. I studied rhetoric. I studied how to most fluidly and convincingly use the least amount of words to get across your intent and your meaning. So I am pretty highfalutin when it comes to the verbiage I use. I say words like verbiage in fun podcast conversations.
Me too.
Yeah, so yes, I can get to the position where I'm welcome into those kind of because also I'm a fucking, I'm 6'4", 320.
Yeah.
I have this wild man air that I've cultivated. So I'm a novelty when I'm invited to the dinner party. You know, they want to have the freaks in there so they can throw fish heads and watch me eat them. But when I get to that table, that fucking class, whatever it is, that Howard's in at 13 shit comes out of me where I just get mad at them for being able to
Yeah.
live these lives behind these glass walls.
Yeah.
So it comes out of me, bro. And then I really throw down a gauntlet of like, this is who I am. And I'm glad to be here. And I'm not going to be rude, but I'm not going to kowtow or bend on one knee to whatever, I don't know, trappings of your life that you want to put upon me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we went to Oxford once when our book came out, which is like shouldn't even have counted as your book is like a book. Our book is like a
Come on.
weird hillbilly tome, but we took us ourselves down there to Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh yeah.
To do a thing, and then that night we went to this dinner at like it was like the people that owned that bookstore, and it was like Ole Miss Literary Circle of Oxford, and they're like liberal people, but all middle-aged white people, and fancy, and like felt like they should have been smoking pipes and stuff. And like
Sure.
it was like that type
seersucker
of thing.
types.
Yes, seersucker types. And we got there, and I got pretty drunk at this dinner thing, and I started like. I kept calling them all the landed gentry and like, talking and I do declare actually, this is some fine cornbread, Miss, like that type of shit. It was definitely like, they were like, kind of like, but it's like you said, I was there to, I was the novelty. They knew I was a comedian. So they were like laughing at it. But the next day I was like, yeah, I don't know how much that was really playing.
Dude, I've said that same shit. I referred to someone's apartment in New York in Manhattan as his gilded cage.
Yeah.
Thinking I was being folksy and funny and like aware, and no, it did not land the way I wanted it to, dude. I've used the term landed gentry more times than I'm comfortable admitting.
Love it. Love the landed gentry talk.
Well, it's like that dinner that you just described is the thing that I want the most, because like I just got a book deal last Tuesday, man. Random House is gonna republish Running the Light in paperback, and then for my next book.
Oh, dude, congrats! That's awesome.
Thank you, bro.
Very, very highly deserved.
Well, it's kind of you, and I agree with you. I think it's a very good book, but also book. Like all I want is to be invited to these like literati parties.
Yeah.
Where it's like all these people with MFAs who like never knew true pain besides like their parents not paying their phone bill one time.
Right.
Or like they couldn't fly first class to Sydney for their 18th birthday. Like that kind of shit. I want to be in these shared spaces with these people, and I want to drink the most light beers that any of them have ever seen.
Yeah.
And I want to make them laugh. And I just want to, because like the authors that I admire are like Jim Harrison, Dennis Johnson, these guys who kind of like eschewed any literary trappings to like live in the woods or whatever. I really want to try and like, position myself as one of those like outsider wild men who somehow got invited into these hallowed halls. And that idea gets me off, dude, Yeah,
no, I mean, yeah, that's right. Do you know David Joy?
Yeah, I don't know him, but I admire him.
He's great author. Well, we sort of know him through the whole well-read thing. I mean, I don't know why I say sort of. I mean, we do. He's come out to some shows. We've hung out with him and shit. He's there in West Carolina. And like he is like, I mean, he is an old boy son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's like legit hillbilly, but writes these beautiful novels that people love. They're lauded, but he's talked to us about like going to those things. Like he has one of those novels come out, he goes to one of those things and how he just feels pain. Now, he's not a comedian, so he doesn't like just lean into it and sort of, start trolling the whole situation, but he's just talking about how he feels painfully, out of place. It's like when Tyler Childers showed up to the CMAs covered in like goat blood or whatever, because he's been in a goat slot, like that type of shit. I love that type of shit,
Me too, man. I like when people are themselves, even though it doesn't benefit them.
Right.
Like being able to be unapologetically yourself. And of course, I'm presenting this idea as like a contrived version of myself that I want to show them. But still, like, I really admire when people like that guy, Wiley Cash. Do you guys know him? Cliff Cash's brother.
Oh, I mean, I know Cliff. I don't know.
Yeah, his brother's a gifted novelist from the same place that Cliff's from, because they're brothers.
Right.
And it's just cool. It's cool when like people maintain, like, I love Larry Brown. Well, Larry Brown's one of my favorite authors ever. He was a son of Oxford. And, he had to go to there's this great video. I can't find it anymore, but I think it was on like pbs.com of Larry Brown and Barry Hannah. And it was moderated by the guy who edited Faulkner and McCarthy's first 3 books. And it's just Barry Hannah trying to be like, the good chimp wearing his bow tie. He's also a son of the South. And then Larry Brown visibly blackout drunk,
Right.
trying to light cigarettes in like the University of Ole Miss's library. People have to keep coming up to him and telling him to put it out. And I
Right.
just like, I will always want to be Larry Brown lighting cigarettes in the fancy room as opposed to being the man trying to be what they want me to be.
That was another. Larry Brown got brought up a lot at that Oxford party. I was talking that Oxford dinner I was telling you about, because they were telling all those stories. They all had these stories about him that were kind of like that, because we had just come from our book. We went on The View to talk about our book, right? And
Yeah.
so the publisher, like, sent us to New York and put us up in a hotel and all this, like, dude. And then so me, Corey, and Drew, we like literally called everybody we knew, and like Corey brought his damn mama and her best friend, all this stuff there, and we all like, we just put it all on the publisher, right? Like, we cleared the mini bar out. Like, we were like opening bottles of beer with other bottles of beer out of the mini bar and shit, and just like
you don't even like Grolsch,
yeah,
you're
right.
opening them.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, just, and we were like, oh, that's what, fuck them. They got it. Shit, they got it. We're like buying rounds for people in the lobby bar and all this stuff. And they got so pissed off about that. The like called our manager, got us off, and just like reamed us out and said they'd like never seen, and this is where Larry Brown's about to come up. So they like never seen authors conduct themselves in this fashion and all this stuff. And it wasn't all this type of thing. We were like, that has to be bullshit. Like, is this really what the publishing world, like, the authors are legendary for that type of shit. That had just happened. We were in Oxford, and when we brought it up, they all started telling Larry Brown stories about how, like, what we did didn't hold a candle to the shit that he had pulled like repeatedly all the time.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, see, we're just trying to follow in a great tradition. That's all. Apparently not as appreciated.
You're honoring your forefathers.
Yeah.
I did a show at Proud Larry's in Oxford, and then like the next day I went to get pizza, and this guy was like, hey, you were doing that show last night, man. You talked about Larry Brown on stage. Hell, he was my fishing buddy, man. You want to go out to see where he wrote? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, hold on. And he flips the pizza place sign closed, and we hop in his truck, and he had this hash pen that was just crippling me. And I was smoking all this hash and like having like a very surreal, like almost panic attack about like, okay, so now I'm in a stranger's car and we're driving somewhere into the wilds of Mississippi. But anyway, he was true to his word. We went to where Larry Brown, his house, we like tapped on the glass of his writing room, and his son was like,
Yeah.
So then we went and we visit Larry Brown's grave, and I like knelt on his grave and blew weed smoke on his grave and like cried in front of a stranger, and then had a half-hour like silent ride back to Oxford with a man who I just wept in front of, who thought I was cool previously.
Yeah, I don't know. Hell, that might have touched him. He might have, or maybe he was like, yeah, he never even went fishing with him. What the hell? What's he trying?
Yeah, exactly. Drew got me a advanced reader copy of Father and Son, which is the first book I read by Larry Brown. So yeah, I love that guy, dude.
Yeah. So another thing that I know you also know a little bit about is vittles. So I'm wondering how you categorize your own palate, because like I definitely have a trash palate, but I also love to go to a higher end place and do that. Might feel uncomfortable, but I'm fat kid, so the food makes up for it. So I definitely can.
And I'm a fat adult, so I'm in there.
So how do you categorize your palate?
Eclectic.
Yes.
Yearning, searching. I am hungry to eat everything, bro. I had horse meat in Japan. I had pig aorta in Sydney at a Singaporean restaurant.
Damn.
I love it all, dude. Because my mom, like, God bless her, she got kind of, I don't know, shipwrecked in eastern Colorado on a drive to Portland after college. And she ended up living there and meeting my father and falling in love. But she was always like trying to expose us to the finer things. Like when we went on vacation, we wouldn't go to, your classic destinations. We went to Quebec City, we went to Montreal, we went to Boston, we went to Maine, we went to San Francisco, we went to New Orleans. And always most paramount to her visit was eating at the fine restaurants of those places.
Yeah.
So I don't have a fancy car. I don't have a lot of jewelry, but I have spent an egregious amount of money on fine dining and like, very good bottles of wine, staying in nice hotels, you do I did a bunch of shows in like Eastern Europe, and I think I broke even after the
Right.
hotels we stayed in, you know, because it's like, hey, if I can make $1,200 tonight in Bratislava, that means we can stay at the, you know, crown jewel of Bratislavan hotels for 3 days. And that's what we did. And I fucking love fine dining, dude. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing.
Do you have you got an all-time favorite you've had, place or dish or any of that or both?
Yeah, it's hard because I went to Tim Dillon with you. I went to Europe with Tim Dillon, and we
Right.
went to
Yeah.
Noma, which is by all accounts the best restaurant in the world. Like that movie, I always forget the name of the movie, but it has like Ray Fiennes and everyone goes to the island
The
and
menu.
the menu that
Yeah.
is based on this restaurant. So I was in there, man, eating like, you know,
It's out in the
stuff.
middle of nowhere. Like you have to
It's
take
in
a fucking
Copenhagen. So
carriage or something to get there.
no, I wish. No, a taxi driver took us there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, like the actual dining experience is like, you know, for every 2 people eat in the dining room, there are 4 people waiting to attend to them, and they
Yeah.
bring over the dish and they put it in front of you, and they tell you the story of the dish and what it signifies and where all the ingredients come from. But I was with Tim Dillon, you know,
Yeah.
who is a great man and generous, but an impatient glutton. So
Right.
by the
Yes.
time his plate was on the table in front of him, by the time they put mine down, his bite was already in his mouth, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like that could have been a great dining experience if I was with someone who maybe had the patience to enjoy it like I wanted to enjoy it. But I think the best restaurant in America is Coquette in New Orleans on Magazine Street, and their
All right.
tasting menu is just a divine experience, and their sommelier knows exactly what he's talking about. And I think that when you go to these like fine dining experiences, if you kind of can communicate to them that you know how important this is, and it's not just a thing that you're checking off a box because you're like a rich guy. It's not a
Right.
place that like you were told to go by your assistant. This is a place that you did the research on, and you know that you're going to take a hit for the price of the meal, but you don't care. Then they're usually eager to like bring you out like shit from the kitchen that's not on the menu, or they'll give you an extra glass of wine of something they're excited about. So being like the bumpkin in the, you know, that's benefited me in these fine dining experiences.
Do you ever have you had any experiences where you felt like they went a little overboard? Like, have you ever had? Because I feel like sometimes I haven't been to these personally, but you'll see some on the internet or whatever where they get into a lot of the foams and the
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? They'll have like a cloud that rains
Molecular
sugar.
gastronomy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like that type of stuff. And sometimes, of course, I'm not eating it. Maybe if I was putting it in my mouth, it might be a little bit different, which I've often said in my life. But just
Yeah, I
looking at
know.
it from
That's how you got
afar,
through college.
right? Yeah. But just looking at it, me being the way I am, I'll be like, come on, man. Has that,
Sure.
like,
Yeah. It's
were you
pretentious. And because
right?
it's like after eating, like I've eaten at those restaurants, and then as soon as you leave, you're Googling like burrito near me, you
Hmm.
know, because you're still hungry. I
Right.
like that hoity-toity stuff. I like the same way that I like conceptual art. Like I
Yeah.
really get off on modern art and postmodern art and like concept art, but I don't have to eat that shit. I just get to stare at it. So like we went to Peter Luger's a couple weeks ago when we were in New York, me, David Bory, Nathan Lund, and Shane Torres. And that
Nice.
place is the highest version of meat, potatoes,
Right.
blood, gravy. And that's a fine dining experience. And there's no
Yeah.
pretense to it. It's just
Right.
great stuff that men and specifically men have been eating since it opened. I
Right.
like those experiences. I like when someone's like, hey, there's a place in a strip mall that does the best bowl of pho I've ever had. Like, I'd
Yeah.
much rather go to someone's favorite restaurant with their definitive, like, platonic ideal of a meal, as opposed to going to like some place with great reviews on Yelp that has, you know, $5 signs in the Google search.
Yeah. No. Yeah. A lot of times the hole in the wall places are like, I remember there's a place kind of near the Stardome in the Hoover, Alabama. That's a Caribbean soul food place,
Yeah.
and it just was. And when I walked in there, it was packed. It was super busy, and I was literally the only white person in the building.
Hmm.
And I was like, "This is about to be fire,"
Oh yeah.
and it absolutely was. I've been back there many times since. But you brought up art. Now that obviously art is fancy as hell. We've talked about it a lot on the show, but
Yeah.
not. Me and Corey are both very art dumb. Like I mean, I love to read. I love films. I love, I'm a writer. I like, I like a little bit of arts in my farts,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little artsy fartsy with some stuff, but like art though, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'll say something and I'm like, I really, really like that. And then plenty of other times I see something, I'm like, I don't know what that's supposed to be, but it's
Yeah.
presented prominently in an art gallery and it's valued at $1 million something, whatever. And it's like,
Right.
are you good with art in that way? Like you have an appreciation for it, a taste for it, or is it like just specific things that move you?
I think that deep down in the soft part of myself where I allow intuition to be heard,
Yeah.
like the feminine parts of myself, I think that I have a very good intuition for what is valuable art and what is, I don't know, because there's a lot of art that's like, okay, so I can tell what, like the same way you listen to music and you're like, okay, you listen to these 3 bands, then you made this band, and that's why you sound like that. There's like a lot of like weak candles being held up to like actually good confrontational art. Like I love Clifford Still, who's this guy in Denver. They have his museum, and he just has these his canvases are the size of walls, and they're just giant slabs of dripping black and jagged red and little stripes of yellow, and like that shit gets me going the same way that like punk rock got me going when I was a kid. So like I think that but one of the big cold wars in my house is that my wife and I don't share a similar aesthetic for visual art. And when the book hit, my book hit, like I had a little bit of money and it was also quarantine and I was trapped in my home, and it's like, okay, I'm going to adorn the walls of my home with things that I want to look at. So I bought all this art, dude, and my wife is not a fan of most of it. And
you got like your space and then she's got her. How do you handle that? Or is it just like,
well,
I claim this patch of wall, you got to
it's
stake your flag elsewhere and just deal with this? Or
I bought this big piece of art by this guy named Goons, who's a street artist in New Hampshire, and it's all these like very childlike faces rendered by like, I don't know, it's a collage piece, and he has this like, it's like there's like a Ferrari on it that's done in like old burlap sacks, and then also there's like a pack of Newports on it, and my wife is like, this is trash and you're trash for thinking it's good, and it's going to be maligned to the walls of your office. So like whenever people would come over to our house, I would go in and the first stop would be like, look at this. This isn't allowed out there, but look how good it is. And a lot of people seem to agree with my wife.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just that. So she also has like strong opinions on art and knows what she thinks is good or worthy.
Yeah, but they're not
art,
built
it's
on a
different than you.
vocabulary of knowing about art.
Okay.
Her whole thing is like, no, this is bad. It's ugly. And I'm like, well, yes, but it's ugly because it's based on this other guy's work. And like, it's from this school of art and X and Y and Z. And as you know, our wives are strong women who will not compromise when they think their belly is true. And so there's some shit that is in storage right now that I wish was held, was on the walls and shit. Here, let me tell you about this piece of art. Let me tell you about a piece of storage. Well, not this shit. This shit's not going to appreciate.
Right, okay.
But I have like a couple like nude like cowboy paintings that I bought that I was like, these are funny, and my wife's like, these are the best things that we have, and I'm like, okay, well, this will help me in the future. There's this prize they give to conceptual art, and I can't remember the name of it ever, but there was a piece I remember hearing about when I was like 20 called Shed Boat Shed, and this dude in Europe took a shed, and like this was his entry into this conceptual art like contest, and he takes a shed and he puts it on the banks of a river, and then he pushes the shed in so it like floats down the river, and then it hits the shores again, so it's a shed, and then it's a boat, and it's a shed, but it was all of those things all at once, but yet it was neither of those things unless it was put into the context of what it was when it had that title. And that shit rewired my brain, bro. I was like, that is art. That is a legit thing to have a conversation about. And that's a piece of art you can't own.
That's what I was about to say. Did they film it, or like people observed it, or just, do you know what I mean? Like, how is it? Did you just hear that happened? Because there's no way to, it's not captured anywhere. You can't observe the process or nothing.
You can't observe the process. And I heard about it, but I remember telling everyone I knew about it forever. And I brought that up because I tried to explain that to my wife, and she was like, no, it was a shed, and then it like was still a shed,
but
even when it was floating. Yeah.
Sheds can also float. Not all that floats is a boat, Sam.
Yeah.
Corpses float. Is a corpse a boat? What are you talking about, Sam? Yeah, right. But no, I dig
Yeah.
that because I've always wanted to do that, but with a truck, just a truck that is also a boat and a boat that's also a
Right.
truck. You know what I mean? I've always thought that'd be pretty cool.
My
Me and that
buddy
guy
Andy
were on a
Quinn.
similar wavelength.
Yeah, my buddy put a hot tub into the back of his truck for our
There you go.
graduation party when I was 18, and I told him, I was like, bro, this is
Yeah,
next level. And he's
you're
like,
on to
well, hell,
something.
we can get chicks in it and they'll take their tops off. And I was like, well, yes, Andy, but
Exactly.
also
Yeah.
this is like an astounding work of engineering that
Oh,
you
yeah. Right.
did. Yeah. And he's like, no,
So,
so their titties will
yeah,
be
that's
out,
you hear
man.
the titties part because
Yeah,
you heard that right because that's the
right.
important part.
Well, that's why I like outsider art so much, like, like your Daniel Johnsons or whatever. But then the Ogden Museum in New Orleans has this whole floor that's it was art made by the enslaved population and people who were mentally unwell. So it's like you get to see the enslaved people, they made art about whatever was laying around. So you've got like shit made of like melon rinds and like coffee grounds and like whatever shit they could find. But then you also get a view into the mind of someone who just is like a paranoid schizophrenic but drew his version of a flower, and you get to
Right.
see what that is through the lens of someone who's not classically normal brained.
Sure.
So I like that shit a lot too.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those paintings and drawings and stuff that people have done as they like descend
Descend into
further
Alzheimer's. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
I've seen schizophrenia too, and also, but yeah, the Alzheimer's ones, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
wild.
horrifying. And it's
Truly
exciting
is.
and it's
Yeah.
visceral. And I love all that shit.
All right, so we have just started this thing recently. We have guests on. We got a couple of standardized questions that are in the related to fancy shit that I'm going to ask
Okay.
you, and I did send them to you ahead of time, but.
Mhm.
So we'll just get into them and then we'll go from there. What is
Okay.
something you thought was super fancy as a kid, only to realize as an adult that it's really not that big of a deal? Like Grey Poupon or that Viennetta ice cream shit. Those are some
Dude.
examples for me.
Those Viennetta cakes were insane, bro.
Yes.
I think because I grew up in landlocked Colorado, so I always thought boats were for just like the super wealthy.
Right.
Whenever I thought about boats, I thought about yachts and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But then you meet people who like live near a lake
Uh-huh.
and they are not fancy at all,
No,
but they have a boat and that boat is their entire thing. And they take care of the boat and all of their gatherings and family events are built around that boat. And I always thought boats were just for like, Saudi princes and shit.
Yeah, I'm from a lake town, not much of one. It's not exactly the Lake of the Ozarks. It's like, like I don't know, mechanics from Ohio come down to, Salina with their families once a summer. They go fishing for bass.
The TVA flooded it back in the day.
That's exactly what happened. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful
true?
lake, though. Yeah, it was the Army Corps of Engineers. But yeah, it's a man-made lake, Dale Hollow Dam.
Okay.
And when they flooded it, it wiped out a whole community. I mean, they warned the people first, but there's still a town on the bottom of that lake because they flooded this town or whatever. Anyway, it is a beautiful lake, but it's not fancy. And my hometown is just ravaged with economic despair and desolation and poverty and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I grew up there. So I knew that there was plenty of ways to have a not fancy boat. Like there are very few fancy boats on that lake, even like the houseboats. A lot of them are like, we all know houseboats are like floating trailers, but I mean, they look like a small, dingy, single wide trailer that also floats, like not a big ass aquatic RV or whatever. And so, so I did know that, but I knew also that there were fancy boats. Do you know what I mean? I knew there were trash boats and there were fancy, and I still looked at fancy boats as being like, that's still some you got money shit.
Sure.
But when I say fancy boats, I just mean the nicer looking houseboats. I don't even think I knew about yachts and shit. We talked about yachts on the show, and I mean, them things is fucking wild. Some of them dudes got yachts that like poop out smaller yachts. They poop out the fast boat.
Yeah.
The big boat poops out the fast boat, and then they got lasers on them that disable cameras and shit because we were not allowed to gaze upon their hits. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
All kinds of stuff.
Well, my understanding of boats was like yachts that you saw in movies and then cruise ships. And then like the little like John boat, fishing boat that my grandpa had that we would go fish for, rainbow trout with. I didn't know that there were like pontoons.
Love them.
Yeah. So like anyone can have a pontoon boat and anyone can drive a pontoon boat and anyone can feel like God on a pontoon boat. Because when you're out there ripping across the water,
Yeah.
That's like flying, man. But like there was a whole gap in my understanding of boats that was like the middle tier of boat. So I thought it was either you had like, you know, an outboard motor boat that fit 4 people, and maybe you'd have a fish finder on, and that was where you went to like drink RC cola, and like, you know, wait for your grandpa to get bored. Or there were the fucking super yachts that we're discussing. Even a houseboat I thought was like
Right.
only for rich people. I thought like,
Right.
whoa, you have to be so powerful to live aquatically. But no,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah. No. Yeah, the pontoon boat thing. But I will also say, because I've known, being from there, I've known so many people that like had a boat but didn't have a lot of money, but they had just
Yeah.
and like a lot of them, even though they have a boat, they seem to almost exclusively bitch about their boat and how much of a
Sure.
pain in the ass it is and all that stuff. People make it sound like, you know, they say so like, what is like a boat's just a hole in the dock you throw money into or whatever, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
exactly.
And it's like, I've always heard all that. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I choose not to have a boat, except I'll probably still have a boat I shouldn't have one of these days
For
in my
sure.
hometown that I go to once a year. Just have it sitting there because I always dreamed of having my own boat, you know?
Well, you need somewhere where you can shoot fireworks off, you know, and that's what the
Yeah.
boat's for.
Yes. Well, in Clay County, you can do that downtown if you want. You can do it on the strip.
Really?
You can do it in front of the bank.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know you were from
yes and no.
Shangri-La.
Yeah, yeah. Dude. That is my sons who are very California-y. They were born in Tennessee. We moved out here when they were like 3 and 4. When we go back to my hometown to go out on the lake and stuff, like the first time we bought a shitload of fireworks, they were like, "What?" You know, like they didn't know that was allowed anywhere. Like it felt like some outlaw shit to them or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can still do it. Next question is, what's the fanciest movie you have ever seen? Movie
Shit.
that screams opulence, whatever you. And again, you're a cultured man.
I think Barry Lyndon, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean,
It's a good answer.
that's my dad's favorite. What is that? Is that Scorsese or Kubrick?
That's Stanley Kubrick, right?
Kubrick, yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad is he's a big like hipster about film and music, and he always said that Barry Lyndon was the best of all the Kubrick films. I remember having to watch it when I was a kid and how bored I was. But then you watch it as an adult with a little bit of understanding about like he only used real light. You
Right.
know?
That's what it
Like,
was. I knew there was something about the making of that movie yeah, that's it. He only ever
Yeah.
used real light for that whole thing. Yeah.
So like the care and precision that was put into making all of those like super wealthy set pieces look like they did when
Right.
in the period they were set in. I think that movie screams to me not only just like all the costumes and like the buildings that the movie was shot on, the locations for the sets, but also just like how much actual money was put into making it look as fancy as it does. So I think Barry Lyndon.
That's a good answer. About Stanley Kubrick. What do you think about the whole, the
Moon
way
landing?
do what? The moon
Landing?
Yeah, right. Sure, yeah, we can get into that. But I was going to say the way he tortured actors purportedly, but not all of them. You know what I mean? He's got a obviously all-time genius, but it's one of those things. It's like I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that never ever got talked about. And then only in recent years, people are like, he was a huge asshole too. And it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that information? But
bro, I don't know about you, but I think actors are fucking weak in general.
Yeah, right.
Like they're just empty vessels that need to be filled with like, other people telling
With
them
your ideas.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Like how do you say
someone
the
who knows
line?
what hits to tell them what to say. And yeah, right.
So like I don't really feel like oh, this role broke my mind. It's like, well, how flimsy was your mind?
Yeah.
Like it does suck when your boss is yelling at you in front of all of your coworkers, which I think is like what Shelley Duvall was talking about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, come on, tap out. At the end of the day, you're not. It's over. Just get yelled at by the guy and then play pretend some more in front of the cameras.
Yeah. All right. Next question. If you were given $100 million right now, but you have to spend it all like Brewster's Million style, so you can't invest it, you can't give it to charity, no investing in the community. You just gotta spend the shit. How would you go about that? What luxuries would you buy yourself? Bunch of sweet art?
No, man. I mean, first of all, I would blow the bank on Barolo wine. I would order cases and cases of Barolo wine, specific wines from vintages that are way outside of my price bank right now. And then I would really love to buy what's that? I would love to buy a Frank Lloyd Wright house. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to buy real estate?
Yeah, but yes, if
or
you're,
is this like lighted on fire?
I mean, you could buy real estate, I guess, if you're going to live in it. You know what I mean? I know real estate's an investment. I don't
It's
know.
not a
We're
funny
making
or a
all this up.
sexy answer. I'm sorry, but I would
Yeah.
love to buy a Frank Lloyd Wright house. If I need to spend that money in 24 hours and have nothing to show for it the next day, I am flying all of my friends to probably Paris, and we are going to, rent out the Eiffel Tower for the evening and have a party in Thomas Edison's apartment that was at the top of that thing. Or we're going to New Orleans. We're hiring, Bootsy Collins to lead a second line, and we're just parading through the city, drinking champagne. I would want to spend that money on just like the party of a lifetime, of a decade, of a generation. I think it'd be the best way to do it.
That's a great answer, because you definitely, I mean, you could throw one. I'm not saying you'd have the same sensibilities or taste, but I feel like Saudi princes and shit, they throw parties that are easily in the tens of millions of dollars. Got to be,
Yeah,
right?
like I'd hire Rihanna to sing all my wife's favorite songs.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Like
I mean,
that
yeah, that alone will go through it. What was that wine you said?
Barolo.
Barolo.
Yeah, Barolo wine is very, very good and very expensive.
Where's that from?
I think I don't know. I feel like it's Italian because it's so rich and red, but it could be French. I'm not sure.
Do you know about Screaming Eagle wine?
No.
We talked about him on the show when we had like a wine episode, and I've just been kind of fascinated with him ever since, because like it's some of the most expensive bottles that you can find are made by this winery in California called Screaming Eagle, and I kind of can't get over it, because it just, that's like a 101st Airborne unit or whatever. Like it doesn't, that does not scream, the pinnacle of venting or venturology, winemaking, wine shit.
Yeah, it sounds like a AAA ball team.
Yeah, right.
The Screaming Eagles. Yeah.
So I didn't know, and I don't have the answer for like how they pulled that off or whatever, but I've just always
Rich people want to feel like they're making a good decision with their money, and if you tell them that this is a really good product and they can spend their money on it and feel smart, then they'll do it. Like that's all that fashion branding of labels that don't have the label's not on the shirt at all, that kind of thing.
I've always thought, I mean, not for me, of course, I could never swing that, but I've always thought if you somehow can get into a rich people market, you know what I mean? If you can convince rich people that they need what you're selling, like that's what's up, because, the cost of the goods and shit is not that much more if you're making like some, like Balenciaga or whatever. They make like chip bags that just look like chip bags, but they're $5,000 because their whole thing is like, oh, we're trolling. We're a joke of what this stuff is, except it still is what it is. Also,
yeah, like Supreme and shit.
But we're in on it somehow.
Yeah, it's like postmodern. It's like they're irony poisoned.
Yes,
it's like the fashion equivalent of fans of Come Town.
Right.
Which hey, I'm
funny.
one of them. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who is your favorite historical figure and why? I know that's a big question.
Shit. Yeah, this was the one that I did not have a good answer for. Shit, man. I mean, history. Fuck. I mean, Genghis Khan got a lot of work done.
Sure did.
A lot of it was consensual, but it's a different time.
Yeah. On that note about Genghis Khan, a thing I've always thought of with him or wondered about is like, he really got down to raping and killing business for a long time there. Like he was really swinging for the fences.
He was trying to set the record
in the conquest game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking the Wilt Chamberlain of
of pillaging,
razing villages to the ground. Yeah, right.
Salting the earth.
Yeah, salting the earth. Yes, and so now, people know who he is. It's in that context, but also I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's like a small chain of Mongolian barbecue restaurants called Genghis Grill.
Oh, I know.
Right, and stuff like that. And they got a little cartoon Genghis Khan as like their logo and whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like, do you think it will ever be possible for that to happen to like, Hitler or anything?
Right, like Pol Pot's hot pot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Pol Pot's hot pot. Exactly. It's like, is it just time? Surely it isn't. But if you were around when Genghis was conning, it's like, it's hard to go much harder than he did. You know what I mean? All the people he subjugated and all that shit.
He was
probably would think it's pretty wild the way he is today, treated today and depicted.
Yeah, revering him and then making him like the face of a place where you can get $14 for 7 pounds of meat if you can stack it precariously in one bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to say Genghis Khan, but like he really I would love to be in a corner when Caligula. I'd love to sit in on the corner of like a meeting where Caligula is sitting in front of the Senate and saying that like, the horse was the
Hmm.
Pope or something.
Right.
I would really get off on that. And then it'd be fun to hang out with fucking Ben Franklin because he was such a perv and a pleasure seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He liked them big and old, didn't he? Or he just
he
liked
really
them
did.
all shapes and sizes, I reckon. But didn't he like write treatises on the virtues of gray
Yeah,
bushed women and things
I
like
think
that?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was writing a bunch of like horny pamphlets that he was self-publishing. You
Dude, a
know?
lot of those guys were doing that. Like those, like James Joyce and a bunch of other have these like
Oh
you can
yeah.
look up their filthy letters. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
the equivalent of the sexting they were doing with their
Right.
beloved, but back then, and it's all like flowery and verbose. But he's talking about like her farting on in his mouth. And
Yeah,
shit, you know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
I
Yeah,
also I also like the bullying letters that Hemingway sent to the guy who wrote The Great Gatsby. They're in the Hemingway house in Key West, and it's just him like trying to make the dude who wrote The Great Gatsby flinch. He's
yeah,
like, "Man, everyone loves you. No one loves me, but I'm a man. At least I'm a man about it." And you can tell there's like this like underlying homosexual subtext of yearning. I
right.
like those letters too.
Yeah, I don't know those ones. I have to check those out. So
Next time you're down there in Key West, take a gander.
you know what? I've never been to Key West, but I'm supposed to be going in the near-ish future.
I
Trying
figured
to
you
get
would
a
have
show
worked
to.
that club a lot.
No, not yet. But I think that I'm about to, or
All
it
right.
should be happening because I've always heard about it, and I mean, just Key West in general. It's
I'll
definitely
give you Tom Dustin's number.
on my list. Okay, so one thing we talked about on the show a lot, or a recurring theme and everything, is what I call the Venn diagram when it comes to like fancy people and trash things that like where they overlap. So like a
Mhm.
humorous example is fucking your cousin,
Of
right?
course,
Like
yeah.
the
Mhm.
Royals love that, and then also my cousin Kenny Ray loves that. Not me. He's not fucking me. It fucks other of our
Yeah,
cousins.
you guys
Anyway,
made love.
yeah,
It
right.
wasn't fucking. Yeah.
Uh, and then
Dude,
also,
drugs. Drugs is my
boats,
answer. Drugs is the
drugs.
big one,
Gotcha.
bro.
Okay.
Dude, rich people love drugs. They love pills. They love doing powder drugs in vehicles. They'll like drive around in their very fancy cars doing cocaine. I know a lot of great people whose entire life's work was put into restoring some old broken down truck, and all they do with it is drive to the next county over to get some Xanax bars. I think there's a lot of similarities in the love that the rich have for altered states, and not even like hallucinogens, not like mind expanding, just like. And I think from rich people, it's like my life is so boring. How can I fill it with novelty? And then for
Right.
poor people, it's like I
And
work
this,
at a transmission shop 16 hours a day. Yes,
yes.
of course I'm on crystal meth when I'm at work because it makes the
Right.
time fly. And then when I get home, I got to take the edge off with a couple of lore tabs. So
Yeah. And
maybe
that's one of those things.
the reasoning isn't the same, but they both have the same enthusiasm.
Right. And then that's kind of one of those things. It's like, much like just with boats or booze or whatever, it's like, well, maybe everyone kind of loves drugs a little bit. It's not, and then you get to the ends of the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And it does seem to like come back around. Like each end of the spectrum, I feel like you find more drug use there than in the middle. Just
And what was also fun about that is like me being from the country, but we live next to Douglas County, which was the wealthiest, it's like the 10th wealthiest county in America per capita.
oh
So
damn,
we would just descend like conquering hordes on these very rich kids' parties. And when we showed up in our Elizabeth letter jackets, it was like, fuck, the wolves are in the throne room. So it's, we had what we got along with though was the fact that my friends were supplying the drugs for their party.
right? Yeah.
And then with all the cream that we could scrape by charging them a surplus, we had enough drugs left over for us to enjoy ourselves at the party.
You just said that your friends were the ones supplying them, but with like rich people, I've also always just assumed they've got like access to the very
Sure.
best of shit or whatever, you know what I mean? Which I've
Yeah.
always wondered like just how much better, because I don't know. I ain't never had no like rich people cocaine or nothing. I know I haven't.
Right.
It's like, and I always wonder like how big is the gap really in the experience? Like, just how much better is rich people shit than what 98% of people get a hold of? You know what I
Well,
mean?
they don't get the thrill out of it that you get when you, like, pull up to an abandoned baseball field to buy 12 Xanax bars off of your sister's boyfriend's uncle,
Mm-hmm.
because they have a boutique doctor they can call and just get prescribed right away.
Right.
So it's not as nutritious of an experience as poor people have with drugs.
Another thing I've brought up and bitched about many times over the years, you just reminded me of it. Not a boutique doctor, but I feel like it's kind of a trope that a lot of people have these doctors where you can just kind of go and tell them whatever, and they'll write you a script for something. Like, many comedians have had bits about it and stuff, and I hear those stories.
Yeah.
Like, you ever had a doctor like? I've never in my life had a fucking doctor like that. Maybe it's because of my whole thing and my family history, and it's just
Yeah.
I don't I don't exude trustworthiness when it comes to prescription related requests
Yeah,
or what.
yeah.
But
With that accent, you could
right,
say, "Hey, I slipped 8 discs. I need
right.
something," and it would still like sound like drug seeking behavior.
Put me on a list. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
for
like,
sure.
what about you? You ever had the
I'm new
Dr.
to
Feel
being able
Good
to
type?
see doctors, like I didn't
Oh,
have health
right.
insurance forever. So
Yeah.
like seeing doctors is completely new. It just comes with my wife finally being a hired employee of a hospital. So, but now that my wife is a doctor and I have health insurance, my wife's always like, "Hey, don't ask for anything crazy, because
Mhm.
that would reflect bad on me."
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, now I have like this fear because I would love to have some like benzos for long flights. If I have a
Mhm.
5-hour flight and someone at the show the night before can slip me a fucking Klonopin or two,
Right.
I'll eat that thing and I'll time travel. So I just love to have like my own store of whatever sleeping pills are popular right now. But my wife has told me that I don't need them, and work on meditative breathing techniques as I'm
Yeah.
crammed into a space that's not built for my body for 6 hours.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah,
Ambien beats the hell out of that, or whatever the other
for
options are.
sure.
Yeah. Right.
You ever stayed up on Ambien?
No, no, dude.
Dude,
I can sleep. I'm a sleeping son of a bitch. And so
yeah,
anytime I take like sleeping aids, like,
uh-huh,
that's it. And
yeah.
I can't fight through that. What
I fought through
happens?
it one time and it was fun. It's a very like kind of, I don't know. I guess liquid experience is a nice way to
Mhm.
put it, where like all the edges are a little bit blurred and you're like awake, but you're not awake, and it's dreamlike and exciting. I heard it's the closest thing to Quaaludes you can get your hands on outside of
Quite.
South
See, when I was
Africa.
talking about rich people earlier, it's like, and I mean, I
Hmm.
guess even now, I don't know if even there, but like the Wolf of Wall Street, like
Right.
watching that movie, it's like, God damn, they're like mythological beings or
I
something.
agree. I
Quaaludes,
know.
like, that just used to be around, popping them like candy, years ago, and now, like, knowing that they can't be gotten, unless you think rich people are they synthesizing them somewhere or something? Are they still getting a hold of those? You think, or they're just
So
gone?
what's fascinating is like there are allegedly like rich people in the Hamptons who have a gun safe with $100,000, a rifle, and a bunch of like antique Quaaludes. But then in South Africa, there's the Mandrex. Like we have the opioid crisis here, and they have Mandrax, which are old Quaaludes. Not old, they still make Quaaludes in South Africa,
Oh,
and the
okay.
brand name is Mandrax. But so like the super poor of South Africa, living in slums, are the people who are smoking Mandrex tablets to get high to escape the torment of their lives. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum are the super wealthy who can still get access to good old fashioned Quaaludes. So there you go. The rich and the poor brought together by their love of not having
Mm-hmm.
to think for 8 hours.
Yeah, of course the rich people got the real shit. It's
I
always
know.
something.
That's why you need to keep ascending. You need to become super famous so you can
I
start
know.
some Quaaludes, bro.
Shit, who you telling? That's what I'm saying. Also get access to the machine they got out here. They take like a frumpy piece of shit like me, and they put them through that machine. You walk out the other side, ready to be on posters and stuff.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the University of Alabama's secret government.
What? No, but I
Me
hate the
either.
University of
I'm not
Alabama.
either.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're
Okay.
not. We're definitely not talking about that. Whatever you do, don't go to Tuscaloosa and ask people at the bar about the machine because they will turn their back and walk away.
Oh, you've intrigued me now. But
Bro, it's legit. There's like an Illuminati of Alabama that is all through the University of Alabama. And then all of that power goes into all of the far reaches of the political system in greater Alabama.
holy shit! I mean, I live to hate Alabama athletics.
Sure.
And
Lovely
so
state. I have no,
yeah,
I don't care. I don't have any allegiances because I'm not from the South.
yeah, I'm a big Tennessee fan, so they don't
I
hit for
know.
me. But but I might have to have to look into this. We talked about like secret societies and shit like that on the show before. Illuminati type mess. But anyway, I've kept you for long enough, I think, Sammy. It's gone by way too fast. I knew it would.
Yeah, this was a blast.
But it was fun. But I said in the intro, I told them about the special note, but remind people how to find you, what they can look for, what to check out.
SamTallent.com. Tallent has all my tour dates and my podcast. Chubby Behemoth is on there. You can buy my book on there. Just come see me live. That's all I care about. Oh, I have a new travel show on YouTube called Wide World, and that's exciting. We did Tokyo and Paris, and we're doing Rome soon. We also did Eastern Colorado. So we did Tokyo, Paris, and Eastern Colorado's coming out soon. Yeah, that's about it, man.
All right. Right on, brother. Well, thank you very much. I love you.
Thank you, Trae. I love you too, man. Give my love to the boys, all right?
All right. All the best to you.
All right,
see you soon, I hope. I used to have a hell of a time trimming my balls back in my early days, or well, not that early. That'd be weird. In like my 20s and stuff. Back when I first ventured into the wild underbrush of my pubic region, walked in there with a pith helmet and a machete, doing the best I could. Got a whole team of native guides trying to help me navigate my way through that jungle. And the freakiest part is thinking you go, snip yourself, trim yourself up in the wrong place. That skin down there, it ain't the thick. We ain't got to get into all that. We just all know it's scary. You nick your neck. It's one thing. You get nicks and cuts on your dicks and butts, whole other thing. And that's Manscaped. Ever since I started using Manscaped products, complete confidence in that arena. No concern whatsoever that I'm having nicks and cuts on my dicks and butts, and it has changed the entire game. I can tell you that firsthand. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare your summer bod. Every man knows how scary it can get when going for a close shave below the belt. That's why I trust Manscaped for all my most sensitive areas. Inside this package, the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the 5th generation trimmer, features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. We also have dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3 length setting combs, and oh, did I mention the trimmer is waterproof too? That's right. Beach, lake, or shower, this razor will devour even the strongest of pubes. Now that you have the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest summer barbecues. The Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant. Once they touch your sack, you never go back. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package 5.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. More wet products, say no more. Manscaped's new Buff Bundle is all you need to keep the summer heat a breeze. This bundle includes their signature silicone scrubber and body wash. Ditch your nasty loofah and grab a taste of freshness. That's right. Get 20% off with free shipping with the code POA20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping when you use the code POA20 at manscaped.com. It's smooth sack summer. Boys, get on board or get left behind. Well, there you have it, airheads. What I tell you. Told you he's a sweetheart. I told you he's an eloquent motherfucker. That Mr. Tallent, Sammy T, great guy. Listen, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, check out Sam Tallent at samtallent.com. Check out his podcast, Chubby Behemoth, his comedy special, The Toad's Morale, and his incredible debut novel, Running the Light. Check it all out. Sam hits. If you hit, he'll hit for you even more so than he did in the preceding hour. So check it out. I have been Trae. This has been another episode of Puttin on Airs. You're probably wondering, is Trae actually? No. If y'all been listening for a while, you're not wondering whether or not I'm going to do airmail. You done and already know my ass ain't going to do no airmail. So, but yeah, I was about to do this whole thing where it's like, I know y'all maybe expecting airmail right now, and I hate to let you down, but then I was like, they're all like, oh, Cho ain't here. Guess there ain't no airmail this week. And that is true. That is true, and that is accurate. It will not happen. So yeah, I don't, I didn't chose at Disney World, and I didn't go through the process of having him send me some or giving me the login to check it myself. Lord knows. That would, who knows what that would do to me undertaking such a responsibility as that. And so, yeah, no airmail this week. I hope you enjoyed me and Sam, me and Cho. Cho will be back at next week. We all get to hear a little post-Disney report. That's going to hit for everybody, I'm sure. My next show's coming up in the future, July 12th and 13th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's going to be fun. Love Oklahoma. Not just saying that. Tulsa and Oklahoma City, never had a bad time in either place. These are actually the first club shows I've done in Tulsa, so I'm looking forward to it. Then after that, I got a big Northeast run up through Connecticut, upstate New York, Brooklyn, bunch of places coming up in the very near future. Go to TraeCrowder.com. Come and see me. Also check out Cho's Substack. He changes the goddamn website every other week, I feel like. I think it's Bonus Corey right now. bonuscorey.com, something like that. You can find it. Check out his website. He's Substack. He does all kinds of wild and wacky shit over there. And then also listen to the other podcasts in the Skewniverse, Weekly Skews with me and Smart Mark, Well Read with me, Cho and Drew. And just, stay fancy, motherfuckers. Skew. Here's Lydia Lovelace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months at SaveWithConrad.com.